Welcome to BSU.
I'm Professor S.
And I'm Professor K.
And this is 8 tools you didn't know you needed in your Dungeons & Dragons campaign.
Or maybe you did.
Or maybe you did. So at number 8, we're going to start with laser pointers.
These things are a fucking lifesaver, especially when you have like 7 or 8 people at the table. Everybody's reaching around, trying to grab different minis. Like, oh, I want to move over there. No, over there. Then you knock over the drinks you got. Snacks are all over the place.
Your map is ruined.
It makes it a lot easier for somebody to sit back, especially the DM who might have like 7 minis for different monsters or bad guys, to just say, hey, bro stuff number 2, can you move this mini over there? Thank you.
Exactly. Things like the monsters, moving them around. You want to move over, get next to that orc you want to go fight. Sure. Just point it over there. Have your friend help you out.
And these things are super cheap now. Like, you can get them at the dollar store. They're not that bad. Alex, can you toss me one of them? Maggie got a couple of these for me the other day. 2 of them. They're just a couple of bucks. Dollar store, pretty cheap.
Batteries wear out. Just get a new one. It's $1. It's probably cheaper than the batteries.
It saves a lot of trouble, especially where, somebody might have to waste time of getting up, walking around, move it over here. Helps combat go more smoothly, regular play go more smoothly. It just helps.
Oh, yeah. The definite must-have tool, I would say, in any game. Yeah, try not to point it in your friend's eyes. Lasers in the eyes are usually a bad thing.
Or do it, because fuck them.
Because fuck their vision. They don't need to see. Number 7. This one is just random props. Things like, a key or a sword or something that kind of just enhances the gameplay itself.
And we had it in our homebrew game where you guys met the Dwarven King, and he wanted to give you guys the key to the catacombs. I pulled out this. It was like a pen that was actually supposed to be the key from The Hobbit that they used to get into the mountain. I pull it out, hand it over to them, and everyone's like, "Oh, props!" What? Players go crazy over that shit, and they're super cheap to get. You can go to the dollar store, especially around Halloween. You get the little skeleton, some like mesh and chains,
and it's also depending on the prop. It maybe if it's a useful piece in the flow of the story, right? It's kind of a friendly reminder, like, oh yeah, I have this key, instead of like going through your inventory on your character sheet and then going, oh crap, I had this key. It's just kind of visual reminder, kind of just enhances the gameplay itself.
Back into our homebrew game, there was that point where you guys found like a hag's den. And if you look in Volos, they talk about how, hags have like shit all over the place.
They like, collect random things.
Yeah. And so what I did is I went to the dollar store, and this bottle of poison, $1. Dead fish, $1. Chains, because hags be spooky, $1. This, I'm not entirely sure what this is. It looked nicer, and then we cut it up and made it all spooky. $1.
So that's like, what, $4, $5 right there?
Yeah, it's $4. It has no, the players didn't actually pick any of the stuff up, but when you put it out on the table, it kind of just adds to the atmosphere and environment of the game.
More of an ambiance kind of thing. Make you feel like you're more into wherever you are currently in the campaign. All right, number 6 on the list is milk jug rings. Those little rings when you pop the cap off a milk jug? It's got that little leftover ring that just kind of holds the cap on, helps seal it. Just pop that sucker right off the milk jug.
For instance, for any kind of effects or spells where the player is going to need to keep track of somebody, or keep track of how the spell is affecting somebody. For instance, Hex, Hunter's Mark, something where, later on the player might be like, oh, I forgot to add the 1d6 for my turn.
I mean, it's also good for things like you could use for a concentration spell. So I've seen some people use it for, or invisibility, things like that. And you could, if you got different colored rings, you can designate those between your players on what those rings mean. Or even if you're just using regular rings and they're all the same color, as long as you know, okay, hey, we put a hex on that guy and we put a ring on it. It's like, wait, what was that ring for? Oh, right, he's hexed. I get additional damage to this dude.
It's literally just like the string around the finger to remind you, hey, some shit's going on with that person.
Exactly.
My name's Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
Number 5 on the list is some kind of a container, like a container that dice come in. Not all dice come in these, but certain brands do. You can use these for things like elevation. Maybe one character's higher than the other. Prop them up on that to kind of remind you and show you that that guy is up higher.
Yeah, if you're somebody's crawling along the ceiling, somebody casts flying themselves. We had a character that was, I climbed up a tree. Okay, well, let's just put this here and put him on top. Or even things like if you don't have a gelatinous cube mini and you want to show that somebody is eaten by a gelatinous cube or frozen or stuck in place.
Frozen, yeah, that's a good one.
You probably have several of these lying around from all the dice you bought anyway. You know who you are.
And if you don't, recycle, guys. Reuse this stuff.
But yeah, these, if you're going to be buying dice, you're going to have these lying around. You might as well put them to good use. I've used them for, like I said, freezing,
flying.
Just anything.
Yeah, get creative. All right, number 4 on our list is something to represent your enemies. If you don't have a lot of money to spend on miniatures, which is all right.
We get it. Minis are expensive, and most of the time you're just gonna have to be like, "Oh, here's my goblin as a goblin," or "Here's my goblin as a kobold," or "Here's my goblin as an ogre," because I don't have anything bigger than this goblin. I actually only have this goblin.
Right, and you could always do other little things. I've seen a lot of people use. Actually, my brother-in-law uses little wooden tokens and prints out circular printouts of different kinds of monsters, and then just glues them onto the token. You can use cardstock cutouts that you could print, just 2-dimensional little things, maybe put them in little bases, fold them out, how you get creative with it, do whatever kind of works for you, right?
Yeah, and there's this guy even on, if you don't want to feel like drawing them out yourselves or anything like that, or finding something specific, on Instagram, if you find Owlbear Originals, he does a lot of monsters, NPCs, and he makes them and sets them up so that they're specifically made so you can print them out and put them either on, just like you said, on the tokens or on a stand-up base, and all the work is done for you. You literally just go online and
That's
print.
nice. What a guy.
Yeah. It's very nice of you, man.
That is very nice. Thanks, Owlbear.
So if you want, head over to his Patreon, and he has an access to his Google Drive, and if you like the stuff, send him $1.
Yeah, help the guy out. Couldn't hurt. And, I guess he's offering it for free anyway, but, why not support the artist who's creating all this stuff for you, right?
Yeah, wink, wink. We'll cut that part out.
All right, number 3 on our list is timers.
This goes back to just the mood of the setting. Like we mentioned, the props, putting everybody in the mood. When you really want to emphasize, like, hey, you guys need to panic, you should see the way players shit themselves when DM just pulls out a timer and just puts it. No explanation sometimes.
Yeah.
Just pulls out a timer.
Timer sitting there and you're like, oh, crap, guys, we have 15 minutes. We need to figure out what the heck we're doing. Let's get going. All right, what are we doing?
Yeah, some of my favorite moments have been when, like, we had a moment in our game where there was an avalanche and they were fighting a troll on ice. And it was either, A, do we fight the troll? B, do we go across the ice? Which, by the way, there was a cliff that we could have fallen off of. And the whole time, there's the timer for the avalanche, and everybody was just panicking. Yeah. Turtle almost died.
Yep.
You guys didn't know to leave him, save him. People were like, how do we get him out of there?
We're slipping and sliding all over the terrain because it's ice.
Yeah, and I think you guys literally made it within a single-digit seconds left.
Yeah, we had almost no time. So anyway, long story short, timers... awesome for creating that urgency and excitement in a game where it just makes people scramble, and it's actually kind of fun to watch your friends just go kind of nuts and panic, like, oh, we're all gonna die.
And if you know what, if you want to just reel people back in, you see somebody like pull out their phone, fuck them, timer.
Yeah, that'll get them in the game. All right, so let's move on to number 2 on our list, which is spell slot tokens. These would be whatever you want them to be. We find it easier to do different colors for our spell slot tokens. So you know exactly how many spells you have left, how many of you've used or have not used, and you can kind of create them, keep a separate pile for each.
And these tokens can be anything. I think what we use is we went to the dollar store. They had this giant bag of these little gem pebble thingies.
Little baubles.
Yeah, they're made to go on the bottom of fish tanks and like vases with plants. It came in 5 different colors, and at least when we were at lower level, we'd be like, okay, you get 3 blue ones for first level spell slots,
Right.
1 for a second level spell slot. Eventually, you can just make them like those tokens that we mentioned earlier. Just write number 1 on there. If you have a 3D printer, print out tokens that say number 1 on there. It could literally be anything, even just like slips of paper or something like that. Something that you can move around. Because one thing that I've noticed that I do a lot, especially when I have a spellcaster that has a ton of spells and you're in the moment, you forget what you cast.
Exactly. And also it saves from constantly erasing on your paper and wearing down the paper more and more. You know, you just keep erasing and then writing it in and then erasing it. Your paper is going to wear out and you're going to have to change out your character sheet sooner. It's nice to have that visual reference and to be able to know how many spells you have left. Let's move on to the number 1 on our list, which would be tea lights.
I fucking love these things. Trying to keep track of concentration spells is the bane of my existence. Especially when you get to the point of, as a DM, I just realized that was a concentration spell, wasn't it? You should have lost concentration three rounds back.
Ago. Yeah.
So how much damage do I have to retroactively say? Oh, do I just say, no, you know what? Just have it. It's annoying. It's much easier to just be like, okay, this guy just got hit. I see he's got his tea light on. Roll a concentration check.
Yeah. It's a good thing to remember, not only for the DM, but for the players as well, to remember like, oh, hey, I'm already casting a concentration spell. I can't cast another concentration spell because my little tea light's on, reminding me that my concentration spell is active.
And let's face it, there's a ton of things going on when you're playing this game. Maybe not even playing 5th Ed. If you're playing 3.5 or Pathfinder, there's even more things to keep track of. The tea lights, the spell slot tokens, the rings, all of these things, besides the atmospheric stuff, just help you keep track of your game that much better, so that you don't have to worry about keeping track of everything. You can just focus on the game. So just a quick recap. We talked about laser pointers,
random props,
milk jug rings,
dice box,
enemy tokens,
timers,
spell slot tokens,
and the tea lights.
I think that was it. I think we got him.
We got him.
You guys don't know. That was like 7 takes.
That was like 11 takes.
Anyways, you can use all of these things super cheap, sometimes free.
Sometimes things you're already using around the house. Like I said, the milk jugs. You're already buying milk, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Do you drink milk? But either way,
I can. But you can use all of these to make your game a lot smoother, a lot more immersive, and it just helps out.
Yeah, just get creative, You're already being creative playing the game.
Yeah. So that's it for us. Professor K.
Professor S.
We'll see you next class.
I'm going to polymorph here now. Professor Giggles. That was so dumb.